straight cruising, headed for bruising, watching out for number one. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Today is just today and not tomorrow. Where you're going, you can rest your head. Where you're going, brightness looks big. Where you're going, truth cannot be hid. You gotta get going. Easy now. You gotta get going. Easy now.
Good morning. I've designated today specifically just for rejuvenating myself and taking the time that I need to properly heal. I can't really take care of everything that needs to be fixed today. Problems like these take a long time to really figure out and fix, but today is going to be kind of the starting point. So first I'm going to give a little bit of context. Basically the last year, a bit more than a year, has been really, really rough. Long story short, I got married last summer, and just a couple of weeks before the wedding, my grandma moved into the bedroom that me and my husband were sharing at my family's house. So we moved into his family's house because they had a spare bedroom that they weren't using. All of that moving right before the wedding, and I was making my wedding dress, I was making, the decorations, I was making my husband's clothes. I was crazy busy. We had the wedding, it was great, and then just a couple of months after, we had a huge falling out with the majority of the people in my husband's family. Basically, a day just came where the mask that they had on was taken off, and they showed us their true narcissistic selves and verbally abused me and my husband, and we just had to pack up everything that we had that night and left. So that was 2 times in the course of like 3 months where we were also getting married that we had to, with very short or no notice, pack up all of our things and move. So not only had we lost the last place that we had to live, but we also lost all ties to his side of the family entirely. And so we moved back into my parents' house, into the unfinished basement that was being used as a storage room. There were no doors, it was all just cement. And we just had to make do there for a few weeks before we were able to find the apartments that we moved into. The same ones that I was making my first videos in. So we moved into those in late August. And living there was also really, really difficult because, first of all, we had no money to spare. I had to ask my parents for grocery money because his entire paychecks were just going towards paying rent and utilities. And all of our plans for how we were going to move away were just thrown out the window because we couldn't save anymore, and we used all the savings that we did have on the wedding, the honeymoon, and then the initial payments for the apartments. It was the worst neighborhood in all of, Salt Lake County or the Valley. We heard gunshots out the window. There were constantly people on really terrible drugs just screaming and acting really scary and freaky just outside our window at night. It was right in the middle of all of the craziness of the city, and so it was always very loud, very crowded. We had people come up to our door and threaten us. It was just a whole mess, and that was traumatic. And then I was trying to find a way to escape that, which is what eventually ended up happening, and it's why we're in this house now. But I spent probably about 5 months just going through the absolute worst case scenarios that people go through when they're trying to buy a house, just over and over again. And even when we got here, we couldn't bring most of our stuff up with us. I had to get a job here because we couldn't afford all of the initial costs. We hadn't saved up very much at the apartments, and the tiny bit that we were able to save had to go towards the down payments and everything. So I worked a job here for almost 2 months, which I just quit because with my disabilities, I really can't work any job, especially customer service jobs, for very much longer than that without getting severely ill. And I already got pretty ill just from that short amount of time because of one coworker that I had a couple of bad experiences with. And that job didn't give me hardly any money. So anyway, that's kind of a really short recap of the last year. There's so many more details that flesh out just how horrible all of that was, but I'm not going to get into that now. We've finally gotten here now, and so that's where we kind of wrap around back to what the purpose of this video is. Because of all of that, I have a lot of built up tension in my mind and body. One of the illnesses that I have is IBS, and I have not been able to take care of that at all during all of this. So that's something that needs to change now that I have the ability to change it. So basically today my plan and agenda is to, one, start a lot of healthy habits to take care of a lot of the illnesses that I have and manage them, and two, to let myself do some kind of calming and relaxing things that I haven't let myself do for over a year, because now I feel safe enough where I live to feel like I can do that. And then three, to just relax and be in a meditative state and kind of take in and accept that my life is different and better now, and that I'm at the place that I've been trying to reach for over a year. I thought I'd just take you guys along and kind of let you see what I'm implementing and what my plans are. So first things first today, I need to make some bread. So let's go get started with the dough. So here's my poolish. I use just regular white flour with this because I do need some white flour in the bread to make it easier to knead and work with overall. So my hope with that is that the fermentation will make the white flour more digestible for me. So I have this jar of wheat berries. I'll need to get more soon, but I basically put that in this old grinder that my dad had when he was making bread when he was my age. And so he handed that down to me, and so I used it to grind all of this wheat flour. It's important to use the flour when it's fresh, because then it doesn't have time to develop any bacteria in it. This already has the yeast and the sugar in it, so I don't need to add any of that, but I do have my salt. And then I'm adding a few extra things. This is lion's mane powder, and it's supposed to help really well with brain activity and concentration. And I have ADHD, but unfortunately all of the medication used to treat ADHD puts me into psychosis, and so I just am not able to treat my ADHD the same way other people can. But this lion's mane powder doesn't have any negative effects with me, and so I'm hoping if I can use it consistently, that can help with my focus, because I have a lot of problems with that. And then another thing that I'll be adding is some chia seeds. Fiber is really good for helping with all of my digestion problems, and so I figure adding a bunch of chia seeds to my bread will help my fiber intake. So yeah, let's get started with that, I guess. So first what I'm going to do is add my poolish into the bowl here. Then I'm going to add some water. So now that I've got the poolish and water mixed, I'm going to add my salt. So next I'm going to add my chia seeds, just because I want them to be mixed thoroughly. I'm going to add the lion's mane to my wheat so that I can mix it up well in here so it won't get clumpy when I add it to the wet mixture. Now I'm just going to whisk it all together. Alright, so now I'm going to add the dry to the wet. I'm just going to add it bit by bit. I'm going to go ahead and add some olive oil to this now. Wheat flour is like a million times harder to knead than white flour is. Okay, so I'm going to just knead this until all of the ingredients are mixed thoroughly, so there's no dry patches or wet patches anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of the bits of dough off my hands, and then I'm gonna cover it with that bowl and let it sit for about 20 minutes, just so it becomes less sticky. Alright, it's been 20 minutes now, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that, scrape this off the table, then I'll put a little oil on my hands, start shaping it. Alright, so I've kneaded it into a nice dough ball shape, and I've also cleaned out the bowl so that it won't stick. So now I'm going to put oil all over the inside of the bowl, and I'm gonna make sure my hands are properly oiled, and I'm just going to then just plop it down in the bowl, and then I'll cover this with plastic wrap and let it rise for about 2 hours. Alright, so the dough has been sitting for long enough now, so and put some more oil on my hands, and I'm gonna take the dough out like that. I think I'm gonna make 3 small loaves. So now I'm just gonna shape them. I'm gonna grease this pan a little bit. I'll just place it right on there. That one. They're not super even, but I'm not really too worried about it. And then I'm gonna go and find a dish towel, and then I'll be letting that rise for between 1 and 2 hours. I'm also gonna sprinkle just a little bit of flour on top so that they don't stick. And now I'll let it sit for 1 to 2 hours. Alright, the oven is preheated, so this is how they look all puffed up. I'm going to toss them in and let them bake in there for 20 minutes, and then I'll check them, probably put them in for another 5 to 10, so. There we go. Hello. So I finished making the bread, made my now dinner with it. I do this almost every time I make bread, where I underestimate how long it's going to take, and then I end up basically starving through lunch and then have the bread that was supposed to be my lunch as a dinner. Because I was starving, I didn't record finishing making the bread or making the food or whatever. Moving on from that, I'm going to show you the supplements that I'm going to be taking. So first off, I've got my allergy pill. I've been taking this consistently already, and then I'm taking these multivitamins that my dad gave me. I take 2 of those. Next, I'm not going to take this all the time, but for now I will, just because I've been not eating very well for my condition for a long time. And so I'm just going to take some Iodorol, which is basically iodine, just to kind of help clear out a lot of the junk. And then I'm going to take a vitamin D pill, because I am actually just naturally vitamin D deficient. And then I'm going to take a probiotic to help with my digestion. I'm going to swallow all these. And then last of all, I've got some digestive enzyme chewables. So I'm just going to take 3 of these and chew them up. And then lastly, I will normally take 1 scoop of that lion's mane powder and put it in a cup of tea, but it's way too hot to drink any tea right now. I'm still really tired from, starving for several hours, so I think I'm gonna chill out a little longer. So to help me feel like I'm really relaxed, I'm gonna use this mud mask that I got probably like 3 to 4 years ago now is when I got this, and I've never used it. I feel like that might actually help and make me feel like I'm taking care of myself. It's not really gonna, fix anything. It is going to maybe let my subconscious know that I'm, taking the extra step, going the extra mile to how to take care of myself and soothe myself, which I haven't really done. I'm just gonna do that and chill out for a little while.
You can be deserving of the rest that you are given. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Give a lot and live.
Hello. So I was hoping to get to more stuff today, but I've kind of just felt really tired and kind of out of it ever since I recorded the last bit of me making that bread. I think that's gonna be the end of my productiveness today, but I thought I'd at least explain what else I was planning to do and what else I will be doing in the coming days. I definitely want to get into more yoga and stretching and maybe some walking just around my neighborhood, just to get some amount of exercise and increase my mobility without having to do so much exercise that I feel sick. And not every day is going to go according to plan. This is going to take a lot more than one day to really get started, because I'm starting from a very low point, and I really just have to take this day by day and piece by piece and try not to push myself to do more than I feel like I can do at the moment. A lot of the times I'll pressure myself to just do all of the things that I need to do in order to be fully healthy at once, just to speed up the process of being healthy, but that's just not at all realistic. I'm starting from the ground up. I'm having to take baby steps, and I'm having to add, one extra thing at a time. So my kind of next plan with all of this is to increase the yoga and the stretching and the walking to actual resistance training and cardio and things like that. And my plan with the whole food and vitamin thing is to start from where I am now, just cutting out white flour and most dairy products and sugars and things like that, and eventually upgrade that to things like herbalism and using every meal that I have as a form of medicine. And then on top of all of that, get to a point where I can really do a lot of things and make a lot of progress in other areas other than just my health. I really have to learn to be patient, because I've pushed myself to do everything at once too many times, and it's ultimately just ended in me not being able to make any progress. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Get along, give a hand, sleep heavy, be the man. Just there,
Bro,
where you
I don't want to fight you.
do something.
I don't.
You start, you gotta get going.
What?
I was went out to do a dance. Now you're not here.
I'm recording,
That's dumb.
but I love you. I'll come say hi in a minute.